hosting. Good afternoon, San Juan County. It is Tuesday, the 10th of September, 12:05. A little bit of a late start today, but we're here. Hopefully everybody can see us. This is Hey, What's Going On Around Here, and my sidekick and co-host, Heather Spaulding. Heather,
Hello.
nice to see you.
Good to see you, always.
And we are going to talk more about the fire levy. We're going to be speaking with Maureen C. and John McDowell, right?
Yes.
All right, so welcome.
Thank you. Nice to
Thanks
be
for
here.
having us.
So, fire levy. I was looking through the voter guide that is already online, and it'll be going to people's homes, I guess, pretty soon, if it hasn't already. Has the general, I don't think it has.
I don't think it has.
But it will be soon. And it's customary to put up a pro and a con argument. Well, come back to me, camera 3. Oh, you can't see that. Our white balance is kind of crazy. On this side is an argument for, and on this side it's completely blank. There is no argument against. That's a good sign.
I think we snuck it through.
Well, no. I mean, I'm sure that there was an appeal for the no side, and it just didn't come. I think people are probably. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that the library levy was a good temperature read for the community,
Yeah.
and I wondered if it passed, would they be still open to this new levy? Because it's a good one, and it's not a small one
Right.
by fire department standards. So I thought, well, maybe they are ready for it. But I think this is so critical that it supersedes a lot of other levy talk. So I'm hoping that that's so.
So you're hoping this is a good sign
Yes.
of community
Yes.
acceptance? Yeah, it seems like that. John, why are you here today? What's your capacity?
I'm here more to support Maureen. She's
She needs a lot of support.
no, she's done a wonderful job. I just maybe have a little bit more of the technical grasp on what's going on with the fire department.
Are you a firefighter?
I am with the support group. I was a career firefighter for 30 plus years. What I do here is just I support. I do some teaching. I repair their breathing apparatus, their compressors, and just help out. But I don't put on turnouts and go to fires.
Maureen, what's your connection to the fire department?
Well, when we've been here 30 years, my husband and I, and he got recruited into the fire department pretty quickly upon arrival, so that was my introduction. And I would say in the last 30 years, I have heard more fire stories than I ever thought I would ever hear or want to hear. But it is an island, and everybody has to contribute and has to do their part, so it seemed natural for Harry to be doing it. I think I've known every chief that's come through. Their strengths or weaknesses. I think I've known just about all of the commissioners over the years. And along the way in the last 7 years, one of the commissioners had asked me to run for their seat because he wanted to step down. And I thought about it and hemmed and hawed and said, no. And then finally, a couple of years ago, I thought maybe I should look into it. So I started to attend meetings beginning in January of 23. And by March, I became aware that the fire department had a lot of fiscal issues. And that kind of changed my perspective on whether I wanted to run for the fire chiefs or the fire commissioner seat, or just keep learning about what this was. I know that at the time, Noel Monin, who was our current chief, was assistant chief, and he was laying out very clearly a compelling story that said, we are headed to a storm. We need to change what's going on here. We need funds. And I felt like the chief at the time just was not listening. The commission was sort of rolling with whatever was being said. But levy talk was on the table all last year. So here we are. It's got to happen. The department is in a critical need right now for funds, or we're going to see reductions like we've never seen here.
And you may do since 1962 was the last, 63 was the last levy increase. So that's being pretty cautious with the funds, right?
Well, I have a lot of ideas about it. John can speak to that as well. But 1963 to now, the whole world has changed 100 times. But the fire department has kept their same assessed value that they get. It goes up, it goes down, but it is now down. And the levy they're asking for is a 40-cent increase over the current one to the $1,000 assessed value of the property. So for the folks in the county, I understand them questioning it. Why, how, and where? But I wish the commissioners had required any chief along the way to project their needs for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Where do we want to be in the future? How do we want to look? And I don't think they've done it. So I really had kind of look at the commissioners over the years, historically, as kind of dropping the ball on this.
That's what kind of goes through my head when I hear that. Like 1963. I mean, you nailed it. The whole world has changed. So how did that happen that there was no levy in all that time? That's crazy.
It's hard to imagine.
Well, traditionally, in being in the fire service never asks for money. They always say, we'll make do. We're just going to go ahead and do it. Don't worry about it. We'll find some way somehow. We'll do more with less. And that, it's an admirable attitude, but it can get you in trouble pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And by the time, like 2020 came around, we realized we were really, really in bad shape. But then we had COVID. Then we had 2 or 3 years of really high inflation, so we couldn't really go out and ask for that. So that put us, we had inflation of 21% with the Seattle CPI over those 4 years. Well, we took in 8% with our 1% in new construction. So we fell 13% just in that year. Plus, in these 61 years since the last levy rolled out, we've added a lot of population. We have a lot more missions than we had before. The equipment has been getting older and older and older. So it was just kind of like, I guess say, imperfect storm. It all is hitting together. We should have figured this out probably about 10 years ago,
yes,
but we didn't. So we're here now, and we need to fix it. It's critical right now.
Do people understand that story, or do you think people just think that this is a result of the inflation, the recent inflation?
It's hard to know. That's why we're trying to do this and other things that we can talk to the public and say, it's a whole grouping of reasons why we're at this point. But I have to say this about our current chief, Noedel, Chief Monin. He's the first person I've seen in all the years here that has looked ahead. He has a very good capacity for understanding the budgetary process, for looking at the health of the department over a period of time. And so he's put a 20-year plan together, which I think is admirable. And he did it without being asked. He just said, we need some bigger solutions than just one. So a levy lift. A lift is a harder word for me. I like to call it an adjustment or a correction, but lift has a different connotation.
I know.
So let's be honest and open with the audience. How much money will this raise? How much incrementally next year will be there that isn't there now?
It'll come in at 4.4 million.
Okay.
If we stayed with the 30 cents, it's actually 29.95 or something cents. They would bring in about 1.9 million. So we're asking to go from an operating budget now of 1.9 to 4.4. But as Maureen said, that's not just to fix like the next 2 years. That's looking at 20 years. We need to replace a ladder truck. We need to replace water tenders. We have to have stations we have to fix. So the number it wasn't just pulled out of air, it was pulled out of the fact that in 20 years, we said, we have these problems now, and if we project out 20 years, we think this amount will handle that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the unwritten covenant, is that you're saying that this will take care of the needs for the next 2 decades.
That's the plan.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And I would say that Noel is not the kind of guy that would pad anything or do any fancy maneuvers or say we need another new boat or anything. He is really looking at replacing the capital budget so that it is foreseeable what we need and we can achieve it now if we get this levy passed. So if we don't get it, we're really in a place of a negative kickback to the community. Mm-hmm. And that means all of us, our safety and our normal protections are going to be compromised.
So we had Dwight Colley here was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Or 1 week ago, recently, and the chief. And we really only got into, in terms of the fallout, the consequences if this doesn't pass, we talked mostly about losing 24/7 coverage,
Yes.
staffed coverage, paid coverage.
Critical.
And, you know, we have that still on the site. You can look at that. We'll connect to that from this article as well, so you can take a look at that. That was a very interesting conversation. So we covered that, but then we kind of ran out of time before we got into all the other little things that Noel was telling me. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that could be corrected right away, from bathrooms that don't work in some of the firehouses to a new sprinkler. He might have mentioned the sprinkler
I think you
system
mentioned the sprinkler.
that's needed, I guess, in the main firehouse. But let's talk about some of the things that are, I don't know, maybe an embarrassment almost at the condition of things that would be fixed right away. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the long-term, maybe the capital things and all that.
Well,
I'll let you
so
start.
the stations, that's a good point. The apparatus, although it's aging, it will last for a while. But we have three stations that have no bathroom facilities. There's not a shower. So if they come back from a fire where they're supposed to do decontamination, there's no place to do it. There's not a toilet there. They're just basically garages that you can park fire trucks in. And the one that's down at the Cape is so small. It's with the neighborhood association. It's housed in their building, but there's only probably about 3 inches front and back on that fire truck when you close the door. So
Yeah.
it barely fits in there. So we have stations that can't meet the needs of current apparatus, and we have a huge issue with sanitation, which relates to safety for the firefighters as well. So those are things that could immediately be taken care of.
What kind of equipment, I don't know about 20 years, but in the near future, the foreseeable future, what kind of equipment improvements could be made?
Well, WSRB, which is the Washington Surveying and Rating Bureau, dictates the number of equipment that we should have, their location, and their age. And so some of these things we may not have actually been forced to do, but to keep our rating up, we have to maintain that our apparatus is a certain age. So we have a ladder truck that's at Station 31, which is on Mullah Street, that's 27 years old. At 30 years, we get no credit whatsoever for that vehicle. We have the water tankers, we call them tenders in the fire service. The two that we have for bringing a lot of water out to rural fires, one of them is 30 years old, and one of them is 20 years old.
So these are parade vehicles now, right?
That, you know, if
I mean, they're
the way that you
doing a
said-
job, but they would qualify as parade vehicles.
The way you say that is kind of interesting, because if you walked in any fire station, they keep such good care of it, you say, well, that is fine. If you talk to the mechanic, he's going to say, that's not fine. What's underneath there needs to be fixed. So immediately, we need to be looking at those tenders and that ladder truck. And a ladder truck costs $1.25 to $1.5 million. And it's not that we say we absolutely want to buy that, but we're required to by WSRB to do that. So there's some apparatus needs that are probably going to be hitting us immediately in the next 5 years, and there's some that we're projecting out over the 20 years.
What kind of reaction? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, with those, like a ladder truck, besides just mechanically being old, is there new technology on those vehicles that are upgraded too?
Yeah,
that you need?
the engine and emissions technology is significantly better. The braking capability, there are some ladder trucks that I worked on, you had 2 stops that you hit, and after that, you're just going to go right through an intersection because the brakes are so inadequate. So the braking technology, a lot of the new ones have the same things as cars. They have airbags in them, they have rollover protection, so they're much safer for the firefighter, and the operating systems are much newer too.
What kind of reaction are you getting in the community so far now that it's percolating? I'm seeing yard signs and
Yeah.
bumper stickers like
I
this
know.
big.
Aren't they beautiful?
How do we get those? How would one go about getting one of those giant bumper stickers?
Well, we can help you with that if you really want to put one on your car, but we have one of our, there's only 4 of us
Yeah.
really pulling this campaign together, if you want to call it that. We're really grassroots the whole way. We pay for most of it ourselves, and the guy, Mike Corelli, who is on our group, he designed those and, got the metallic material and the lettering, and he tried to get me to cut and paste them, and I was like, it was totally out of my lane. So John was great about it and helped. But yeah, we're just trying to make this sound real to the public. When you're asking them to take another increase on taxes, I don't want to ask them to have to contribute. So we're doing everything we can to keep that out of the way of doing this, and just going to the clubs and going into the market and talking to people, which is how I always do it. Everywhere you go in town, you just have a conversation and hope that people can pass that word around when they hear it.
And what kind of reaction do you have in these conversations?
Very positive. I mean, I would say some people don't even know what we're talking about. And you know, the department is always there, and people forget that, you know, they have needs too. And so you assume, like calling the operator, they're going to be there, or dialing 911, they're going to be there. And the fire department is putting out the message that, you know, we're going to be there to the best we are able if we don't have the funds to run the department. So it's critical. It's not a silly thing. It's an important thing. And I think the public is starting to get that. They're starting to get, it's really, it's for real.
Is the loss of 24/7 coverage in the evenings, is that the number one thing that people that resonates with people, that they react to, or are there other things?
I don't know that people drill down that deep into all the issues.
Yeah.
If you're asking me as a person that's going to receive the service, that's the most critical thing, because
Sure.
you can have all the fire stations, you can have all the apparatus that you want there, but if you don't have people to respond timely, that's the key issue. Because fire, you know, the statistic is it doubles every minute. So right now, we actually do have one person around the clock. It's not zero, but that one person, if they hear a fire call, they're going to wait for 4, 5, 6 minutes to try and get another 2 or 3 people on there so they can do
Yeah.
something
Right.
when they get there.
Right.
So that
delayed.
reduces your response a long time there. And then when they get there, there's an issue called 2 in, 2 out. I don't know if you've heard of that. So it's a federal and state OSHA law that says if you're going to send people into a hazardous environment like a fire, they have to go in with a team of 2. But before they can do that, there have to be 2 more people outside. So if we were to go to a house here in town, which we would have normally a very fast response time to, unless we had 4 people, we couldn't even make entry into that house. So that's why the levy, what it's hoping to do is 3-person staffing 24/7, because with the duty officer who's coming from another location and the 3 that would be on the engine, that's your 4 people. So as soon as they got there, they could go to work. So it's not only how fast you can get there, it's what you can do with the people you have.
And is that something that you can help people understand? Is that,
Oh, yeah.
That makes
I
sense
think
to
that makes a
people.
lot of sense. But I mean, I think other people go, well, what do you mean? How many people are being paid? And somebody asked the question, doesn't the thrift store money go to the fire department? And you have to let them know, no, that goes to the Firefighters Association, which helps support critical needs for firefighters and other people in the community. So people just hear what they hear, and you're going to hope to get it across to them that this is a big thing. To me, this is probably more important of a ballot measure than any other thing on our what we're dealing with, because it's us. We're an island. We're finite.
Yeah. Well, fire is such a, it's important safety. If we aren't able to respond to this thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
our lives are in danger.
Fire and the sheriff's department, both of these departments are essential services, and they need to be kept in good stead. They have to be kept.
And
One
I
of the
think-
things that kind of clicked with me when I was interviewing Alexa Russ was that when people talk about insurance with the fire department, they're talking about the property owner's insurance. And so if the fire department is not reliable, that really affects the property owner's pocketbook in the sense that they have to pay more insurance. I guess I just want to talk about that a little
Sure,
bit. And
that's a big problem.
And as a matter of fact, just coincidentally, today is the day that the Washington Surveying and Rating Bureau is on the island evaluating our fire department. So they do that periodically. The last one was 3 or 4 years ago. And they come out and they have a whole set list of things that they look at, from staffing and how many people respond to fire, where your fire stations are at, the age and type of your fire apparatus, your training. They look at all those things, and it's a set list. And so they go through that and they come up with a grade, which is called a protection class rating. So they would say for this fire department for this island, you have a rating number of, and last time it was 6, but 1 is the absolute best and 10 is no fire protection whatsoever. So we're at a 6 now. It's going to take probably, I think, 2 or 3 months for us to find out what we are currently, if we've dropped or if we've gained. I know we haven't gained. Hopefully we stay the same, but if we drop, then the insurance companies go, okay, so you drop from a 6 to a 7, so that means that underwriting your island is that much more expensive, and so policies, I won't say they will, but they could go up, or there could reach a situation if we drop low enough, they say, we're not going to provide fire coverage for the island at all. So it is a very important issue. I can't say how much it would be and what the actual cost would be, but it certainly will affect your premium.
Is there a target in the department for how high you could get that number, or low, or good, on the good side?
Well, good is low, isn't it?
Good,
Yeah,
good
well,
would be low,
it's like
but
golf. One
Yeah.
is the best and
High is
10 is the
bad.
worst.
desirable.
Yeah.
Is there a goal, or a recent history? Could we
I-
be a 5? Could we be a 4?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to
I
that.
think it's different everywhere. All
Yeah,
the stations
yeah.
have a different rating. So depending on what they look at and what they see, you're rated on that. But the point is, we're an island again. We can't go low. I mean, we want to go low on this, on the rating system, so that we don't have that interference with homeowners and fire insurance. Who wants to make that a problem for people? It's
Yeah.
expensive enough to live here.
Right.
Is there a most common misperception about the levy that you're hearing when you talk to people? Or is it just they just didn't have awareness of this?
People don't understand the levies attached to assessed values of properties. I think it's just confusing. And I think the homeowners have all gotten a pretty good hit on increases in property insurance. So this adds another layer to it. Understandably, they get concerned. But when they realize that the amount it might take them per year, and I don't really have that figure, it's hardly a large amount per assessed value. So it's doable. We're telling the islanders it's doable, and we need it.
I'm going to see if we can take a break. Are we ready to take a break? We're going to take a little break here. We'll be back in 2 minutes We'll be talking about what it's like to be a spouse of a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter, when the pager goes off at 1:35 in the
How
morning.
much time do we have?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking to Maureen C. and to John McDowell and my co-host, Heather Spaulding.
I'm here.
We're all here. It's 12:30 on Tuesday, the 10th of September. And I promised that we would talk about what it's like to be a spouse of a volunteer firefighter. So they carry pagers, right?
Oh, yes,
And that pager is sitting in the Charger.
yes.
Is it a Motorola still?
Yes, or it was. I don't know. It's currently Motorola.
I covered fires, the fire department. I covered 5 fire departments in Missouri. Missouri has smaller counties, and so I covered 5 different fire departments at one time for 6 years in rural Missouri. And I actually carried two of their pagers. That's how close. Usually media doesn't carry fire pagers, but they treated me like a volunteer. And so they're loud and obnoxious. They're meant to wake everybody up.
Yes.
So are you used to it?
Yes, of course I'm used to it. I've been listening to them go off for years now. He tries to keep it low, and listen carefully at night. And anyway, we're fine. I mean, I am proud that he's doing it. I think it's great that a guy his age is still out there trying to help the community and be a part of a solution, and he's good at it. And all of them are. It's a very familial thing in this place that there's a friendship that exists and a trust that exists with the fire department that a lot of men don't get in other places, and we have a lot of good women in there as well now. So I think it's a great bonus.
Now, there's no time to make him coffee or anything like that. He's out the door.
I'm sleeping.
90 seconds.
I'm still in nap.
You wake up and he's gone.
State.
You wake up when he comes back, though. That's a little different, right?
Sometimes, yeah. And the stories are, very hard to hear sometimes.
In your observation, is it a stressful job to even be a volunteer? Is that a stressful job?
Oh, yes, it is.
They see some stuff.
They see things, they see accidents, people injured, burning buildings, hoping that they're doing everything they can to get people out, pets out, whatever. It's very stressful. But the training is substantial. Wouldn't you say, John?
Yeah, I think we have a good training department.
It really helps that they are prepared going in. The fires that we've had in town, when the grocery store went down, and then when the Corners place went down, the guys were incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. So we're lucky to be where we are and have such a staff.
John, were you a volunteer or staff?
No, I was a career firefighter. I was a fire officer down at Eugene, Springfield.
Ever here?
No. They tried to get me to.
Yeah.
But as I told my wife, 32 years of hearing the voices in your head at nighttime,
Yeah.
that's enough. So I just help them out when I can during the daytime.
That's great. So it's practically a fraternity, sorority. It's now women are
Yeah,
involved.
it's
Is that going to continue to that ratio going to continue to change, you think? Do you think it'll ever be 50-50 men and women?
I don't know. It depends. What we do is we look at areas where we have holes in coverage, like if there's a certain area, and we go out to the community there. So whoever responds, that's the ratio we get. We don't say we're looking for women, we're looking for men, we're looking for anybody, and that's the message that we get out.
There's no part of this that a woman couldn't do, is there? They
They're
drive the truck. They can drag a hose across the.
They're better women than I am, I'll tell you, that do all that.
they're doing it, and some have to adapt how they do things, but they all get the job done.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody that hasn't gotten the job done here.
Maureen, have you ever happened to be at a fire?
I was at the fires in town, and it's unbelievably intense. What they're doing, I mean, keeping hydrated, stepping back,
Right.
watching making sure the person in charge is really anticipating all of the team there and making sure that they're doing things the correct way. It's intense.
You probably weren't the only spouse there. Or were you?
Oh, I'm sure I wasn't.
Yeah. That was like just a gigantic collective trauma for the whole island. Maybe the county, but at least the whole island, right?
Absolutely. I mean, these are buildings that Herb's, I mean, all that whole corner is like landmark buildings, and it's taking years to put that back together. So I think it's very, very hard on the community.
In my experience in the 6 years in Missouri, it was the car accidents, the vehicle accidents that were the most awful, intense. And, in these small communities, there's a darn good chance who's been injured or killed.
Right.
And,
you know the person.
Yeah. I almost have PTSD from just being there when these guys realized who that was and what had happened. It takes a special strength. It takes a person with a lot of strength to power through those kind of situations.
It's not unlike the Army or the Marines, where
Yeah.
you have to keep going forward when
Yeah.
there are issues and there's a crisis. You're trained to just keep going forward, and that's what they do.
Well, we should be really grateful. I think a lot of people have this idea that, volunteer firefighters, some of them at least, like to have the lights on their cars and speed around and all that, are all of the perks or the prestige of it. But these are people who are putting themselves in terrible situations as well as huge risk. You're going into a burning building,
Yeah.
and it's very much like all other first responders, EMS and sheriffs and police. It's just takes a very special person. And when a building's on fire or there's a terrible accident, we just kind of turn to them and assume, okay, you're trained, you're going to handle this. And they do handle it. But we don't probably always think about the emotional toll that's going on at that moment and then, afterward.
Right.
So thank you, first responders. We get it.
Yes.
We do get
indeed.
it.
Thank
And
you.
this would be a good time to return the favor by giving them everything they need, right? Is that
Help
fair?
them.
Absolutely.
Keeping a well put together department that's now run by a great chief. And I wanted to say one thing about the volunteers. Part of this increase will help that to grow the volunteer program, because the last many years it kind of was in a little bit of a decline, and this is going to help promote that more and let people get in there and be a part of this team.
You need 50, you have 40. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 10 different people making a life-changing decision. Really, a life-changing decision and a huge commitment, right? So 10 in a place this small is actually a formidable number. It's a serious number.
Yeah.
Each one would be an individual victory if you can pick up. So if anybody's thinking about it, it sounds like this will be a good time, especially if the levy lift passes. It might be a very good time to kind of re-energize, and if you hadn't thought about being a volunteer firefighter, it might be a good time to think about it. And there are other volunteer positions, right? It's not just fire, if you don't feel like going into burning buildings, there's all kinds of support functions, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of support functions, people that fill bottles, people that make sure that they're hydrated on the scene, they get food, people that go out and assess your home for wildland, the FireWise program.
that's a good
So there's a
program.
lot of opportunities to be part of the department and not go on fires. And we need people in all those positions.
So in our little break, you were kind of giving the closing arguments to me. You already sold me, although I should say that however I vote doesn't make any difference. We are totally open to anyone who wants to speak against this. CNL2 goes out of its way to create equal access for everyone. So if anybody has an argument against this, come on in, give me a call. Haven't met that person yet, but they might be out there. So, but anyway, John, go ahead and give your closing argument.
Well, I think that we've done a very poor job of educating people of what we do and what services they get. And I think people rely on us, so they just expect that we're going to do the best thing for them. And we have their best interests in heart, which we absolutely do, but I think we have gone too long without taking a deep look at our problems and what needs to be fixed, and that's on us. But you can tell we've been very frugal with the money in the past, and everything we looked at isn't just give us as much as we've identified all of our problems and laid it out there and said, this is what we need, the support from the community to do what you want, the services that you want to receive.
All right. You have a closer?
I would like to just say I would like to see our fire commissioners make a bigger connection with the community, so that the community knows these are elected commissioners and they are representing the fire department and they oversee the chief. And I just want them to get out there and let people know who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yep.
Well, Maureen, as long as you're here, I'm going to
Yes.
ask you, I warned you, I'm going to ask you about candy. So you have this famous last name. Now, the company was sold to Warren Buffett a long, long time ago.
Yes.
I was reading about See's Candy, and you know the story, right? It was, so Berkshire Hathaway had been around for a while, and they had been specializing in turnarounds and junk companies. And they decided to make a change and invest in a high-quality company in 1972, and that was See's. And it went so well for them that now he is just known for buying quality companies. It completely caused See's Candy completely caused a pivot in the strategy of Berkshire Hathaway, probably the best-run financial holding company in the world, I guess. So tell us, I mean, you weren't there.
Well, I'm not a C. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm married a
Yeah,
C.
but what do you know? What's your, when
Well, when I see the picture
you're
of
you're
Mary
royalty
C.
kind of,
Oh,
and
God.
so yeah, so we want to know, like,
I'm
what
Irish.
do you know about this?
It's a great candy company, and I know that my husband's childhood was very different than yours and mine. And he used to go to the factories and lay on the conveyor belts collecting chocolate on he and his brothers. So they had a colorful, fun thing. It's amazing that they're not all diabetic, but that's a separate story. We'll do our medical report later. It's a good company, and the candy is still as good as it always was. The recipes are genuine, and they are they're the real thing. They came out of Canada into California and developed this, and that was developed by Harry's grandfather. Mary C. is kind of a figurehead, but she is a relative of his.
Is your house full of candy?
Oh, don't. No, we don't, he doesn't own the company, so, but
No,
they
but
do
still.
give us a break occasionally on a box that we buy.
Okay.
It's
Well,
a good
thanks.
company.
Thanks for sharing that.
It always reminds me of Christmas because my great aunt would send my sister and I Christmas See's candies and
Oh,
we'd get like a
nice.
special, candy thing
Christmas
that they were
box.
offering at Christmas time. Super exciting. So that's what I think of when I think of C.
There you go.
John, are you associated with any famous companies
No.
in America?
No.
Okay. Are you?
Too bad, John.
Yeah.
No. All right. Okay, well, thank you. This has been very informative, and I think between this and the interview with the chief and Dwight, I think we've given access to pretty much every angle of this.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome to come back. Well, we're probably going to close the studio pretty soon,
That's what I'm
but we will continue to do interviews on split screen. So if you're willing to sit in your dining room and look into your laptop, we can continue to do that. But there's a little more time if anyone does want to come and speak against this. That's what we're here for. But I'm
Fair
not
enough.
sure that we will. So there. Maureen C., John McDowell, Heather, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Very
for
nice.
Learned a
listening.
lot, and this will be up, recording of this will be up on the website in the next 24 hours. We'll also put the link to your campaign site.
Great.
And are you giving away the bumper stickers, or are those more for trucks? Do you have enough?
We've got a few left, don't we?
Yeah, we can get you one.
Sure.
Okay, well,
It's
I'm just, anybody out there would like to have.
they're
fire
they're made by hand, and it takes like 15 minutes to make each one.
Oh, they're like big sheets of vinyl.
Yeah, well, he has a vinyl printer, so he makes them. He cuts them.
Oh.
He puts the red on the magnet, and so it's a process. So we're not like in the process of like mass producing them, but we
Yeah.
certainly.
So it should be like a high visibility vehicle,
Yeah.
not like something that's stuck in a garage all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
truck is a great one.
Yeah, okay. If you got a truck that's high visibility and you want to support this levy, get a hold of John or Maureen, and they'll have a custom-made giant bumper sticker that looks
You got
really
it.
cool, and you
You
probably
got it.
will never want to take it off your truck.
Happy to offer one.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you, Dave Schnuckel over there, director, and Jeremy Tyler, audio. Have a great day. We, I think, are going to be live again on Thursday,
Yeah.
talking to Amanda Lynn. And then next week, I think Stephanie O'Day is going to have her own show.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? And we're going to talk about, they're going to talk about, I'm not part of it, they're going to be talking about construction on San Juan Island. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.